Hey everybody, welcome to Real People Real Estate, where we sit down with real people right here in Western Massachusetts who share their stories about us surrounding really any part of real estate, commercial, residential, how they're helping folks build wealth through real estate. So today I have an awesome guest here, Jen Ewers, who is with us. And thank you for being here. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is so fun. I mean, we haven't probably had a one-on-one chat in a little while, so we'll pretend we're at a coffee shop and
Absolutely
hanging out and catching up. So
love it.
Yeah. So for our listeners who don't know you, although you're so involved that somebody probably knows you in some capacity, just tell me a little bit about your current role that you have with Edward Jones.
Yes, I'm a financial advisor with Edward Jones. My office is on Market Street in Northampton.
Yep. Awesome. That's great. And so I'm just sitting here and thinking this as we're talking. Where are you actually from originally? Are you Western Mass native?
No, I went to UMass and I've stayed in the area ever since. So yes, UMass Amherst was the hook, and I've lived in this community ever since.
Okay, awesome. And how long have you been here now?
Oh my gosh. So my son is 19, 20, I'll say 25 years. 19. Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Can you believe little Liam? Right?
Yeah. Bringing him and incorporating him into all this community involvement that you have, and I think that's awesome. I try to do the same with my kids and just show them how to be involved and give back and all the great work that you do.
Absolutely, they're watching. It's modeling.
Whether we want them to or not,
That's right.
They're watching.
That's right, yes. And when they were little, I made choices with Liam. I would participate in boards that would allow me to incorporate him.
Yeah.
So, like the Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
Sure,
and,
yeah.
It was just easy, it's just another kid.
Yeah.
I wanted Liam to be treated like all the other kids.
Yeah.
And so I've been lucky through the years to kind of make decisions that felt right, not only for me, but for my family too.
Right.
And I know you're doing the same. And it's nice that groups give us some of that.
Yeah, the flexibility or ability, whatever it is, to
to
involve our kids. So speaking of blended work life, I mean, you probably have sort of this kind of conversation with people all the time in your work, right? When you're helping people and advising them on
I always say the personal and professional is very blurred, right? That it's all of you, just like it's all of you, it's all of me, yes.
Yeah. What are some of the most common, concerns or challenges that you feel like you're helping people through in your line of work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always think that I work for individuals and their goals, and many goals are retirement focused, but there are other goals that folks have that I help with. Maybe they want to buy their first home.
Yeah.
Maybe they're concerned with their health. We can talk about that. And we can talk about vacation goals and education goals. So I think I'm very goal focused. So I would say if people have sort of a trepidation about visiting with me and calling the office or stepping into my space, I always say, if you can think of a goal and if you're willing to commit 2 or 3 meetings with me to talk about your goal, that's it. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And we'll make it happen.
Yeah. And I feel like people often, when they hear financial planner or financial advisor, which actually, can you help me with that definition? Is there a difference, I guess? I think the terms are kind of used interchangeably.
That's right. That's right. I mean, we prefer, it seems that advisor now is the sort of status quo, but we're all in it. The planners and the advisors, we're all in it
together.
To help people.
Okay, perfect. That makes sense. I've always just wondered that. So I think a lot of people, though, they're like, well, I don't need a financial advisor, or I can't have one because I'm not rich, right? So can you help maybe get past that barrier or that feeling?
Folks ask me all the time, who needs a financial advisor? And I say everybody.
Yeah.
It's just that accountability buddy. And it doesn't have to be that long-term goal. It doesn't have to be just retirement focused. We can take bite-sized pieces now.
Yeah.
We can start with a budget. We can get you into your first home. We can really, like I say, I always try to identify the goal and then work from there.
Yeah.
Even if you just want to get healthier, all the runners out there, my son was a track kid and all runners have their favorite shoes. And, so if you want to get fit, I'm like, well, so when are you buying your next Hokas? And they're $140, right? So we're going to save $20 starting now.
Sure.
And then I'm going to check in 6 or 8 months to make sure you're on track to buy the Hokas. So we can do it. It doesn't just have to be, and I tell young people especially when retirement seems so far down the road and almost unattainable. There's some goals now that we could start hitting and start meeting and kind of getting a plan on. So don't trivialize those.
What do you find that maybe is the biggest missing piece of the puzzle that people have when they meet with you?
The budgeting piece, and I think a lot of it comes back to, we can talk about school, you know, and that there wasn't, I remember learning how to fill out a check, in 5th grade. But my son didn't have that experience. Things change and preferences and things that we emphasize have changed. I kind of compare it to the cursive handwriting. Right? No longer a priority. So a lot of people might not have had the training. And that's fine. Then I'll start with a budget worksheet and what can we save now? And we can start small with a savings account.
Absolutely. I had a teacher in middle school that made us do all of our papers in cursive, and I'll never forget it. But I think of that often, and really it's a useful skill to have, just to even, I guess the history of it, right? It feels like history now, but budgeting too. And you're right, there's definitely a lack of financial education sometimes. And if you don't get it from maybe your family or whoever, then that could be the first step. You said that absolutely without hesitation too. So does that go for the budget piece for kind of across the spectrum of folks who you're meeting with? Do you find that whether it's, young or old or more financial savvy or less?
Yes, because I always compare it to, like the mother in the airplane that they say, that you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you help others. We always have to have a savings account first before we can put in other buckets. You don't want to call me to pay the Comcast cable bill, right? We have bigger goals. So we have to start with that savings account. And what does that mean? Do you have one? Are we getting you started? Are we ACHing? Are we contributing to something each month? And once we get that under control, then we can hit some sort of other goals.
Some of the other buckets that are out there. What would you say, and I know this is all not based on a particular situation, but generally speaking, if somebody establishes their budget and then establishes the initial savings that you were talking about, maybe what some of the next stepping stones would typically be from there?
Sure, absolutely. So we do want to make sure that they have their short term, sort of under control. So then we would look for, an investment piece, a retirement piece. What about a tax strategy? An individual retirement account could be pre-tax. So we'll check your income and we'll make sure that the person would meet those guidelines. And then we definitely have the other buckets, to build up on.
And is there anything that would be more important once somebody actually owns a house or a piece of property? Maybe whether it's their own home or a commercial space or something that they own. Would there be changes to that planning aspect?
Absolutely, because they might see a tax need. Maybe somebody's bought an investment property and then their taxes are wildly off, and maybe there's a tax strategy that they need. So we see all kinds of trends and just sort of new problems or new challenges that need to be addressed.
Definitely.
As they move through those stages.
Well, I noticed in your I think it was in your bio that, and I may be saying this incorrect as far as the definitions go, but some of the funds I think that you manage or are involved with are more sustainability focused or community oriented. Can you talk about if somebody wants to invest and they're also really committed to maybe their community or just the good of humanity in general? Are there different types of investing? Because I feel like that just goes with you to the core too, and all of your community involvement.
I think that comes back to our community. I think we have a very sort of aware community, and a lot of people come in asking me for environmental or social responsible investing, and we can do that. That is the term I was looking for. It is ESG investing.
Okay.
And the E is environmental, S is I'm not sure, and the G is the governance.
Okay.
So that hits the environmental responsibility, the societal responsibility, and then the governance. And that could just be the looking at the workforce of an actual company that you're investing in.
Oh, interesting.
So yes, I do a lot of that ESG investing. And sometimes people don't know what it's called, but there's a feeling,
Yeah.
So if somebody walks in and says, I don't want to invest in guns, I'm against the war, or I don't want child labor, or I want some women-owned companies.
Yeah.
All that falls into that sort of ESG,
Yeah.
that socially responsible investing.
Oh,
and
that's
yes,
so good to know.
Yes,
Yeah.
we can do that. I do
Yeah.
that a lot.
And I think maybe people don't often know that because you may just put something in your company's 401k or in a
Sure.
brokerage account or whatever and kind of set it and forget it, which is sort of the goal, but at the same time, you may not know what's actually being invested
Right.
in. That's really, do you see that as a trend at all where people are investing in a more socially conscious way?
I really see that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think the weapons comes up a lot,
Yeah.
perhaps with the Middle East unrest or Ukraine, and people just say,
Yeah.
That's sort of where I draw the line. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't have a lot, but, but I draw the line at,
Yeah.
weapons is
Yeah.
what I commonly hear.
Yeah.
Or, I just want, someone might say, I'm just looking for somebody with some awareness of the environmental impacts. Like I said, I hear it in many, many different ways.
Yeah.
But we have a bucket. We have tools in our tool belt,
Yeah.
to just do that.
Yeah. And are those types of funds, I guess, I'm not going to use the professional words,
you're
but
doing great.
Are those available across different types of portfolios?
They are, yes.
So
yes.
whether it's a retirement or
yes, or even
life
risk. Even if you're, yes. If you have a longer time horizon, you could kind of take more risk. Or if you have a shorter term a need and you want something a little more conservative, we have access to the ESG investments for all types. Yes.
Wow. So you can really dive into the portfolio and figure out exactly how people are investing, where they're investing.
Yes, and we can dive into the fund and actually quantify what ESG means.
Yeah.
I could show you, I'm thinking of a global impact fund where I could see, the company that they invested in, the amount of water that they cleaned, or just different, or the units of affordable housing, within the fund. So we can really go in. I know I'm sounding a little geeky, but
no, I know I'm kind of
really,
sitting here with a gaping mouth, but I really think that's really important, especially now more than ever as people are just paying more attention, hopefully.
Sure. Yes, I definitely want folks to know. I mean, even you might feel like you're a small person, but you can still make an impact.
Right. It's kind of like your own recycling bin in your home, right?
It is just like that. Yes.
Sometimes people feel like, does this even really matter? But every little bit.
Or I think of the United Way that we're both involved in, and it's like, if I just give my $5, does it matter? Well, it does, because everyone in the community, we're all layering and building that. And then at the end of the year, you're like, wow, we've hit the $1 million mark. So I think of it like that.
Now, is that something that any firm would be able to do, or that folks have to particularly ask for of their financial planner? Is that really a specialty? Because I don't necessarily see everybody doing it, or at least not kind of advertising it.
Sure.
Like you have on
that's a
your
great
page.
question. I'm not sure how other people sort of handle their meetings, but I really try to ask people and have great discovery questions and see what's important to them.
Yeah.
So I think as long as it all comes back to the individual.
Definitely.
I don't have the box for you under my chair. I'm really trying to learn as I meet with people, what's important to them. And like I said, and they'll say it in many, many different ways. But I think with good discovery questions, I can find out what's important.
Yeah. So you've mentioned discovery questions, and listening, I would imagine, is really, really important too. What is that just initial conversation? Not, the exact questions necessarily you'd ask, but like, what do people want to have prepared? Again, just to break that barrier down of, calling a financial planner is so scary, or why would I do it? I don't have enough money. I mean, what's the kind of thing that somebody might want to have prepared for a conversation with you?
So a conversation, I think, is easy. I really just want to get to know the person. Later on, I can send a list of documents that would be helpful, but really to get started, I just want to get to know a person. I just want to know, and like I said, try to identify that goal. Because it is different. If you're calling me because you know that you should be planning for retirement, but you're on the younger side, then we have a different sort of approach than if you just sold a house, for example, right? And now you have an immediate need, you have a need for something sort of more instant. Shorter term. So I think the amount of time towards your goal really changes, like what we do and how we do it. So I'm going to use Taylor's term, right? It depends.
Right. For those who didn't listen to Taylor's episode earlier on, I was telling Jen that sometimes it's tricky, and we try to keep the questions a little high level to make sure that you're not quoting anything or something that you shouldn't be. But that's all really helpful, and I think that's kind of the barrier for any conversation into a service or whatever. It's like folks get nervous about, well, what's that first conversation going to look like? And if you're working with someone who, like you, is trusted and good at what they do and a kind person, it's just a conversation. It's just not a conversation. Like you're sitting down and making them sign on the dotted line or anything.
Absolutely,
scary,
no,
so.
Never. And it's always free to talk to me, and it's always confidential.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's okay to run by any ideas that you might have, and that's really
great.
Use me as a trusted resource. And
that's great.
And if I'm not the right person, I can also, again, being community oriented, I would know, if that's a tax attorney question, let me reach out to them. If that's for the CPA, we'll bring them in. So
that's a perfect segue, because I was just wondering and going to ask you how you feel like all of your community ties really help you in your position now.
No, it's a team. Yes, and I'm grateful for those relationships to know, if we're saving to buy a house, I'm always going to ask, who the team is, if they have a realtor, if they have a mortgage broker.
Right.
Because we're all in it. We're all in it. And I can't give a pre-qualified letter, but I know that that's part of the process.
Someone who can.
That's right. That's right. Or I think of transitions. If someone's going through a divorce, it's great when they reach out to me, but what do your next steps look like? Are you buying a house? Then, let me bring somebody in. And, or estate planner. We're talking about children. Especially I'll say, look, it's great that we're starting the 529 plan, but there might be other needs. If you need a special needs trust for someone, then, I'm going to bring in,
You're
my
going to point them in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So when someone is buying a house then, because with my other hat at Applied Mortgage, I see that oftentimes, just like you had said, budget, I would say that's a big challenge for folks too. Oftentimes that might be their first glimpse into their budget is when they're thinking about buying a house, which is a huge purchase too. So at what point in home buying or home ownership do you think is an important time to speak with a financial planner as well? Like, is there a perfect time?
I think the time is now. I really
do. Or like yesterday.
Because at any point in the process, it just never hurts. It never hurts. Because, whether you have that short term, like you need to get into something soon, or if you want to make sure that what you're doing now, it puts you on course for your future plans, it's always a good time. Like you're never too young, but then you're never too old. I think we can just work, with everybody. But if you're thinking about it, I would definitely say the time is now. It just, there isn't a downside. There isn't a penalty. Just for a second opinion, even if you think, I've done all that I can do. But, but you still have that sort of what if or could I? It just never hurts to get a second opinion.
Build the connection,
Absolutely.
I would imagine, and have that. So speaking of building connections, I want to switch gears a little bit from your work at, one aspect of your work and go to another aspect, which is how connected you are in the community. How do you feel, first of all, how did you just decide to start raising your hand one day? Was that right from the beginning?
It's so funny to think back because I remember moments in time, I even remember listening to your dad at an Arrive at 5 and I was talking to him and I was very young in my career at Weber and Grinnell and he said how important to me it was to give back to the community for him. And that left a mark. And then working at Weber and Grinnell, they were always involved in the United Way. So through there, I've been involved in our United Way since 2003.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
I think it's just from hearing others in the community and seeing it. I just thought I can give, When the United Way pledge sheets came out, I was like, I'll make a commitment. It's what we do here. It's what we do here. And we all see the lines at the Survival Center.
That needs to be a shirt for you. That's what we do here. That's so perfect.
But I just feel so passionately that, and I've also always said, whether when I was an insurance broker or as a financial advisor, that my clients are friends and neighbors. They're not mystery corporations and lands far, far away.
Yeah.
I mean, they're folks here.
Yeah.
They're folks
right.
here.
Right.
So it's, I don't know, when we drive by the survival center and it's pickup day,
Yeah.
like those are our friends
Right.
and our neighbors.
Right.
And
Real people.
they're real people. So just help when you can.
Yeah.
You know, I think of the soldier on motto, and I think
Yeah.
that those are great words. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what does that imagine? You close your eyes and you can see them.
Yeah.
That means that somebody's hurt.
Right.
And you lend a
Right.
hand. And I think, well, if I feel strong and we have a cancer connection, well,
Yeah.
someone with cancer doesn't feel so strong, but I can kind of,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
carry them on
that
when I
person.
can. And I just think if we all do that, help
Yeah.
in some way that we can. I wish I could do more,
Yeah.
but if I help in my way,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's what I would imagine is so cool with the work that you're doing, and really your whole career. You mentioned insurance too, and also now the financial planning. I mean, you're connecting with so many people. You've probably spoken to what, thousands of people over your.
I never thought to
your
quantify
career.
it that way.
Right?
Sure.
And each person you're making that little bit of an impact on, or big impact on, whatever it may be.
Oh, I hope
and that
so.
extends out into the, you know, greater community just by what you're probably sharing and what you talk to them about. So when you think about other organizations that you feel like have really helped you mentioned Leaders, you mentioned United Way, any other aspects of the community that you felt have been really instrumental in your career?
Oh my gosh, everybody.
Yeah.
I just think you learn from everybody.
Yeah.
I always think I get far more than I give.
Yeah.
I really do. And
Yeah.
I just learn from everybody. And I always say that a stranger is a friend you haven't met yet.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited to meet the folks that I haven't met yet.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for people that I know that have
Yeah.
shown me kindness and
Yeah.
have taught me along the way.
Yeah.
And I continue to learn. I'm
Yeah.
excited to learn more
Yeah.
and to meet more people.
And I think it always comes around, like you mentioned, meeting my dad or someone like him, you know, that kind of paved the path, and you're doing that, right? I mean, there's probably somebody else, there's probably me, right, in the room where I'm like, okay, cool, Jen's doing this, I can do it too. And I think that makes a big impact. And I'll stop trying to get you to call out any specific organizations, because I know you support way too many, and we have to be like Switzerland on this show. But sometimes I ask people to give their favorite business a shout out. So could you even do that? Could I put you on the spot, or do you feel like there's just too many that you'd want to list?
There are so many, but you know what? It's just a beautiful spring day, and I'll just say I do want to go to Familiars next.
Awesome.
And get, like, they have a London fog spritzer.
Yes.
And it's just delightful.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
So I'm going to give a little love to
Yeah.
Familiars today. The pie bar.
That's great.
It's
And
just
it'll be Summer on Strong time
gonna be Summer on
soon.
Strong so soon.
Yeah,
And
lots
yeah,
to look
Friday
forward
night,
to.
East Side grilled dinners outside on the
Absolutely.
street. So
All right, we
I
covered
love
a lot
so
of
many,
bases there,
but
so that's awesome.
that's a good springtime afternoon
That is
answer.
good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Any final last words of advice or anything from your financial planner hat that you feel like everybody should know?
Well, I would say that what I talk to people about a lot, you know, is there's a lot of regret. There's a lot of emotions with finances. And I always bring it back to driving your vehicle.
Yeah.
And I say we have a ginormous windshield. We want to see what's coming, like what might be there. And we have this teeny tiny rear view mirror. And I just think, like, guilt and what you could have done,
Yeah.
it's behind you. It's just that little mirror. We've got a windshield we're looking out of. We have
Yeah.
a lot of options. We have places to go.
Yeah.
We're moving forward. So I'd say let's try to keep that perspective.
Oh,
you know, like we
that's a
kind of
great
name it. Like
perspective.
I guess we do need to know where you came from.
Yeah.
But then that's it. Like
Right.
we're moving on.
Yeah.
So I encourage folks to think like that
There's
you're driving in your
opportunity.
car. There's opportunity. There's
Yeah.
like wide road ahead.
Yep. And the sun's out. And
Sun's
it's
out,
spring.
and you just can't go back.
And we're going to
We're gonna let
Familiars
it
for
go.
coffee,
Oh my
so.
gosh, London fog spritz. So yes,
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Jen. I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
it's fun to sit with you today.
Always is. Thank you. And thank you to our listeners and viewers for tuning in to another episode of Real People Real Estate. I hope you were as inspired by Jen as I am always. And if you want to be a guest on the show, let me know. We are happy to have you, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.